Not muted.
Somebody's not unmuted. Please, not muted.
Welcome, everyone. So typically paid up membership supper is usually soup, salmon, and salad in the sukkah with sweets. Couldn't pull that off tonight. I love seeing Cindy and Gus and Mark there. Excellent. So what we pulled off was we were going with the theme of TV dinner, and then my friend Annette Corin broached. We were working with an architect actually, and about building a sukkah, and maybe there's an architectural design of building a sukkah, and then all of a sudden Annette and Rachel and the story went off, and the Space Torah came to us just like magically. So we decided to make it TV dinner and a movie, Space Torah. So we're gonna that will be our program. And Rachel Raz, many years of friendship, and she was my children's first grade Gan teacher, and so it goes back a long time. But anyway, welcome to our TV dinner. Brilliant idea. I think I told you 130 meals went out. Everyone came and picked them up. It just was wonderful. You queued up, you did everything that we asked you to do. Many thanks to Joelle for taking the RSVPs and coordinating the many things and special needs and people to pick up and deliver, and to Alice and Dick for helping to be the shuttle person today between cars, and it was really fun. We had a good time, and it was all successful. Barbara Posnick, many thanks to you. Barbara will be our, she's going to facilitate the movement of everything and work in conjunction with Rachel. She'll mute and unmute and tell, and take the questions and answers later when we get to that point. She lost power at her house, so she's actually in the sanctuary at Temple Emunah. So with that, I've introduced the people. Rabbi Kling Perkins will also be putting a little of the spirit of Sukkot into our program tonight. But I just wanted to make sure that you all are on the lookout for our next program that's happening. It's one of our community breakfasts, which is going to happen on the 18th of this month. And it's the program is Building a Truly Shared Society in Israel. It's basically a panel discussion, but it's bringing together an activist in a Bedouin community in Israel, and then an expert on Jewish-Arab relationship, and it's all over. I don't want to go into the bios of everything, but this is going out tomorrow, and I'm going to heavily publicize it and keep it going all next week to make sure that you sign up for this, because it's just spectacular. It's there was a program last month, a little bit on a similar subject, and it's Rabbi Lerner is really, he's gun-ho. Rabbi Kling Perkins, Lena, everyone that's talked about this is this has to happen. And we're working in conjunction with the Israel Action Committee and through adult education. Lena's putting her hands up there. So it's going to be spectacular. So I hope you all listen to that. And, with that, everything Sisterhood's doing. And we just made a $5,000 donation, earmarking the $5,000 to the technology fund with all this Zoom experience and all the cameras and everything that are put up for the high holidays. Someone has to pay for that and commit some funds. So we earmarked our money this year towards that. So, we're doing a lot. And we'll continue to do a lot. And thank you for participating tonight. And I'm going to turn it over to Rachel first. Introduce Rabbi Kling Perkins.
Yeah, I think I'll go first, and then Rachel will start us off with our program.
Perfect.
Thank you so much, Janet. And I just really want to give a heartfelt thanks to Janet and to Rachel and to Barbara and Joelle and Allison and everyone for making this evening happen. I saw the movie. It's really phenomenal. I'm so happy we're able to bring this to our community. And I welcome you to my sukkah. A big part of this holiday is welcoming guests, and to have this opportunity to so many of us to join each other's Sukkot right now through Zoom is really a special thing, especially during this time. So I'm so grateful for us to have this opportunity. there's a tension in the holiday of Sukkot, which is on the one hand, we're remembering this time that we were nomadic when the children of Israel were wandering in the desert. And on the other hand, this structure doesn't feel very portable. It may feel temporary, but not so portable. But the truth is that we are marking and really, really experiencing the ways in which we are, especially when we're in a new place, we're vulnerable, right? If it rains, if it blows wind too hard, we're stuck, and yet we do it. And I think there's something really emblematic about that, about us as Jews, in the way that we, Sukkot reminds us that we make it work. We find protection and we find our way, even in really unusual circumstances. And of course, this year, all of us have experience in finding meaning together as a community and in our Jewish rituals and practices in really unusual times and ways and circumstances. And this movie is about a person who does that in a really new and innovative and inspiring way, finding ways to bring meaning and Judaism to really the most far out places, even out into space. And his journey and the importance that he finds in bringing Torah to space and in bringing his experience of Judaism to space, even though it's not the way that you would ever do it normally. There's a great scene on Hanukkah. Obviously, you can't light a Hanukkah candles in space, and yet he finds a way. And so I bless all of us that we continue to find our ways to bring meaning and tradition and togetherness into these challenging times. And I thank Rachel for bringing us this wonderful, wonderful story of someone doing just that in really inspiring ways. So I'll turn it over to you, Rachel. Toda rabah, and moadim l'simcha to us all. A happy rest of this Sukkot holiday.
Thank you.
So thank you so much. This is really a true pleasure to be here with all of my Temple Emunah family, community. Thank you, Janet. Thank you, Barbara. Thank you, Rabbi Kling Perkins, for having me. Temple Emunah is our family home since 1999. So it's been a while. We are very proud to be part of the family. And actually, many of the members of Temple Emunah helped me to bring this film to life. So I'm going to do a share screen so I can share with you some pictures while I talk. Can you see that? Excellent.
Yes, that's great.
So this is actually my sukkah. This is our sukkah, and I welcome all of you to the sukkah. We have the ushpizin, the guests that we are bringing in. So thank you for bringing me to your sukkah. Thank you for coming to my sukkah. From a year that we can't really have so many people, we have so many people on this call. So we are celebrating it very, very, very nicely. On the left, you see the Space Torah with the rimonim, with the shape of Space Shuttle Columbia. Because this Space Torah went to Space Shuttle Columbia in 1996. So before I start, I really want to say a big shout out and a big thank you to many members of our community that helped me actually make this film. First of all, Esther and Ken Hausman, that they connected me with the production team, Verissima Production, and Rob. I want to thank Caroline Keller and Danny Watt that helped me with fundraising and taught me about fundraising. Lina Ettinger with writing. Many of our sponsors are here, Janice Rosbach and Fred Ezekiel, Lina and Gil, Jeff Brown, Rachel Haft, Mitch Feldman, Andrea Freibusch, Rabbi Lerner, and many, many members of our community. If you go to the website Space Torah Project, as you see below, and you look at our sponsor page, the logo of Temple Emunah is out there. There's a big thank you and shout out to our community. And this is the first open communal viewing actually of this film. We had a private premiere 2 weeks ago. So I'm I'm excited to do it with all of you. So how how did I come to even do that? I'm the executive producer, but nobody actually appointed me to be the executive producer. I actually met Jeff Hoffman, and the astronaut, in 2016. He gave a talk at Hebrew College about Jewish boy in a place like this. This is him fixing the Hubble telescope. And a colleague of mine said to me that an astronaut is coming to talk, and immediately I said, wow, I never met a Jewish astronaut. That will be fun to go and listen to him. I didn't know what I'm going to hear. And I just came without knowing anything about him, just to come and listen. And then he started sharing with us that his first flight actually took place during Pesach, Passover, and he wanted to take matzot. But when he brought matzot, you can imagine all of the crumbs, what happened to them with no gravity. They're just like flying all over. They can get into the machine. They can get into your ears and nose. So they said, no way you can take matzot. And they made this kind of tortilla bread. And I'm actually sharing with you now pictures that didn't make it into the film. That we have so much more footage that we couldn't include all of that, but I'm sharing with you some extras. So the first flight was during Pesach, and this is the tortilla that they made. And you can see the hair of the astronaut there. They're having fun with it, learning about Pesach. He also wanted to take a mezuzah, and he actually took mezuzot on each one of his 5 space missions. And of course, you can't put a mezuzah on the door. You can't come and put a nail and put it out there. So you use Velcro. Everything in space they're doing with Velcro, very sophisticated technology. And you can't actually put it on the door. So he put it where he slept. You can see on the right, this is where he put it. So, and they share the same space. So when it was his turn to sleep there, he put it up. When it was his turn, when he finished, he took it down. In one of his flights, actually he forgot, and then another astronaut came out and said, good touch, Jeff. I saw you put a mezuzah, and he was also a Jewish astronaut, but both of them were Americans, so they didn't fly with the thinking, they kept their Jewishness very individual and very privately. So this was like in every flight, he took a mezuzah. Some of them, like one mezuzah is actually in the Museum of Science in Jerusalem. There are some other mezuzot in other places. And he took with him cards of some other prayers that he said during some of his flight. And the highlight is, as I shared, in his 5th and last mission, he took a Torah to space. And when I was sitting at this lecture at Hebrew College, I was stunned. It's just like, how come I don't know about this guy? 5 space mission, so many amazing Jewish ritual that he did in space. He's really a pioneer Jew in space. Like every one of his mission, he tried something different. Like, what do you do with Shabbat at sunrise and sunset every 90 minutes? What do you do in Hanukkah? What do you do? I wonder, he never tried a Sukkot in space. I wonder what Sukkot would look like in space. But he tried many different things. And the entire time I was sitting and thinking to myself, first, like, how come I don't know about it? I want to share it with as many people as possible. And also, we had some original footage of him explaining so beautifully. And as an educator, I immediately thought about how I want to use it in education. How I want to go and share it with students and with parents, with educators, with rabbi, with so many people. And and the only thing that I was also thinking as Israeli American, I knew about Ilan Ramon, the Israeli astronaut, that unfortunately died in 2003 on Space Shuttle Columbia, the same shuttle that actually Jeff took his Torah. And I'm thinking to myself, how come we know about Ilan Ramon and his Torah, and we never heard about Jeff Hoffman that in 1996 took a Torah and he read from Bereshit, and he did all of these things, and we don't know about it. So immediately, I don't know if it was, and this is actually Ilan Ramon with the Torah that he took with him, and there's a beautiful children's book about Ilan Ramon's story. So in the end of this lecture, I actually reached out to Jeff Hoffman. I'm going to stop sharing it for a second. I reached out to Jeff Hoffman and I said, where can I find this original footage? I really like to use it with students and to share it. And he said to me, it's not available. I said to him, what do you mean it's not available on, because I tried to Google it and find it like on YouTube or something like that. And he said, no, it's on my computer. And I said to him, what do you mean on your computer? It was 2016. And I said, it's been 20 years. And he said, yeah, I was busy. And I said, like, what do you mean you were busy? This is an amazing story. And I said, yeah, I went for 4 years. I was representing NASA in France. And then I work at MIT. He's local, he's in Boston. He's at MIT. And immediately I said to him, are you open to making a documentary film about it? So until that day, I didn't know anything about making documentary films. I love watching documentary film, but I knew that this is an amazing story that we need to share. But it's either the Israeli chutzpah or the entrepreneurial piece in me that I see something and I act on it and I make it happen, that I said that I need to make sure that we preserve it and share it and make sure to do something with it. So he said to me, if it's done professionally, so yes. And I started doing my homework. So I asked many, many people, and one thing led me to another. I met one of these days, Esther Hausman, and she said to me, my husband knows some people. He is also in this in film and documentaries. And he connected me with this, with the Verisma production. And since then, for 4.5 years, we've been working together. I work very closely with Jeff Hoffman. We did fundraising, lots of research, and I'm going to share after the film some more pictures from the production stages and lots of amazing things that I actually find out as part of the research. And every time that we were sitting together, like some of them, it was during, we did some of the recording at the Museum of Science in Boston. We brought one of his rabbi, and I was sitting there the entire time and said, I'm so happy we're doing that. Because some of the conversation and some of the finding were just phenomenal, and I was just imagining to myself that all of this could have been lost, and we wouldn't have the access to this inspiring story. So the film is actually done. We finished it about a month ago. I submitted it to 27 film festivals already. It was already accepted in one of them, in Toronto and in LA, and we're looking to hear from other. And the big idea at the moment is to do educational programming like the one that we're doing here today, to share with you. It's still in the beginning stage. We're still working on a poster and educational materials and updating our website. We still have some work ahead of us, but when Annette and Janet said to me, can you show it? And I said, you know, the film is ready. With the Temple Emunah family, I feel comfortable to already share it. So that's what we're doing today. And I hope that you're excited as much as I am.
And the participation, and it's just extraordinary. And the continuation of this question and answer session, I'm sure is going to be just as wonderful. So thank you, Rachel.
Rachel?
Yes.
I just was so moved by it. I've been moved before by seeing those photographs from space, but putting it together with the Torah and with Bereshit and having someone who is a practicing Jew, it just was incredible.
Thank you.
Rachel, there was such a sweetness to the film that came through that it should be shown again and again. There was such love and such niceness and goodness in it that it should be shown again and again. Thank you.
And that was my vision, you know, when I was sitting there at this lecture and when I heard him, I said, we need positive stories.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
We need something to inspire us. We need something to uplift us.
Yeah.
And I felt that this story can do that. And that's why I devoted my time. I actually volunteered my time for the 4.5 years. All of the payment went to the production team, the musician, and all of that. My family actually put money in. And I volunteer because I thought it's such an important story.
Yes. Yes.
So I'm happy that you felt this way. That was
yes.
Rachel,
Yes, Barbara.
Linda Skolnick had a question in the chat. Linda, I don't know if you want to ask your question.
Could I just say something before? I just Rachel, I just want everyone to know that, you know, Sisterhood is bringing this program. We kind of discussed a little honorarium to Rachel for it, but we're going to be upping the ante, and Sisterhood will be sending the Space Torah project $500 and towards this initiative, and there'll be a link in the chat group afterwards, and we'll promote it if anyone wants to send additional donations in. They are a little short on the funding for this film, so that would be great.
Thank you, Janet. Barbara, you wanted to say something, or?
Yes, Linda Skolnick had a question. Linda, I don't know if you wanted to unmute and ask your question.
Sure. Yeah, I'm unmuted, I think. My question is, if Jeff ever spoke to you about Ilan Ramon and what happened to him, the tragedy, if he ever shared his emotion, and if they actually knew each other.
Yes, so actually Jeff met Ilan Ramon, and in December, actually Jeff and I presented in a conference in Florida, and we met the sons of Ilan Ramon.
Oh.
And we and Jeff actually sat with them and shared with them what he knew from knowing their father.
Mm.
So that was very moving. Jeff also knew Judy Resnick.
Oh.
Yes. And so there's lots of, you know, one of the things that I learned through this process, and I think that the movie showed it a little bit, it's not like just heroic thing, you know, the astronauts go and they come, they're a human being, and the hard work, and sometimes the pain of losing colleagues, and fear, and the disappointment, and the struggle that go with that. So yes, so he met him. They weren't at the same time at NASA because Jeff left in 1996, 1996, and Ilan Ramon came immediately after that. But all astronauts go yearly to NASA, and there are conferences, and they work together. So he met him over time, and actually had some beautiful stories to tell. That all people in NASA from all levels really loved Ilan Ramon because he was very much like people person. It wasn't just with the astronaut, it wasn't this clique, and they had lots of honor for him for his work at the Air Force, the Israeli Air Force.
Wow. Yeah, thank you.
And for me, it was really chilling to find out that actually Jeff took the Torah on Columbia. Because I remember the day that Columbia exploded. It was like the day my kids were in Shulin at the temple. And it was like Saturday morning, and I was on my way to pick them up. I heard the news, and I remember the tragedy and the disappointment. Another thing I just want to point out, you know, in this movie you have 3 rabbis. They're all conservative. There's lots of pride in the conservative movement, and you know, the work that we're doing with our congregant. So big shout out to us. Yes, Charlotte.
Well, Israel is modest and shy, so I'm going to share something instead. He worked with NASA for a while, and his specialty was space debris. And he had entered a spaceship and trying to determine, you know, after the Challenger, that no such thing should happen again. So you have somebody who has been recognized by NASA sitting right here in Temple Emunah. I'll mute myself now.
So maybe you can tell us more about it one day, Israel. Anyone else have any other questions or comments? Yes, Anita.
I just wanted to say I'm very concerned about space debris. So I'm very glad to hear that somebody is working on the problem. You know, I worry about space debris. And I was very happy, I am very happy that I know Rachel and was in this from the beginning. And I had the pleasure to meet Jeff Hoffman and talk to him about MIT. And it's just been a wonderful experience for me, and I love the film. It's my jaw drops when I see the dreidel spinning in space. Anyway, it's wonderful.
Thank you, Janice. Janice and I have a wonderful friendship for the past few years. So, and we still meet during COVID. I sit outside and she sits inside, but it's very nice. Anita, you were waiting patiently, yes. Unmute yourself, yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
I just wanted to tell you, this was wonderful, but I was on the beach in Florida when the Challenger went up. And this was just wonderful because this was a positive experience, and the experience that I saw, unfortunately, was not, I mean, it was a disaster. So it gave me the chills. Thank you so much.
Rachel, hi.
Yes.
Beautiful, beautiful film. So wonderful. I have a question for you about the Brandeis person. I think her name is Jana Kaplan,
Yes.
maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah. What was her connection? Like, how is it that you joined with her to play that role in this wonderful film?
So for me, all of this is a phenomenal journey that I still don't know where it's going to take me, because I'm meeting so many wonderful people along the way. And now that the movie is out, I'm already in touch with so many wonderful people. So Jana was one of them. Somebody said to me, if you're working on something with space, go meet with Jana, because she trained astronauts. At her lab at Brandeis, she has some equipment that she's training them, and she's working a lot about the psychology of astronauts. So I emailed her, like I emailed many people, and she said, come over. And she showed me the equipment that I didn't know that Brandeis has. And she started talking and sharing with me. She started working with cosmonauts in Russia and what it meant to be a Jew and a woman in Russia during that time. She remembered also as a child Sputnik, and Jeff remembered Sputnik. So it was both of them in different countries looking at it and experiencing it differently. And it just became a very nice friendship. And she's also very involved in the Jewish community. She's a scholar. She's really, she opened my eyes to think about astronaut as human being and not as something else out of this world, but the humanity and how hard it is to be stuck in a small space and not to be able to shower, and how do you eat, and how, all of this, like what kind of personality astronaut need. So when we did some filming, we did many more. And one day we invited her also. So this actually took place in Jeff's house. And we have a very good interviewer, Pam Cooper. She's wonderful. And some of the things that I did with her, and because I did lots of the research, there were some ideas that I really wanted the movie to include, because the goal wasn't to make a movie. The goal, and that's why sometimes people said to me, now you're done. And I said, no, now I'm starting. Because the idea wasn't to make a movie. The idea was to share the story and to inspire people. And in some way, use it like a case study for people to think about what they're doing. So for me, it's a great story for rabbis to think about what's their role. I want to show it like in rabbinical assembly. For educators, like the third grade teacher, that when she saw doodling, she didn't say, no, this is not our class, don't doodle. But she said, you're interested in that? Let me give you a book. So I want teacher to think about, what more important, the subject that I'm teaching or the child in front of me? And so with Jana, it was one of the recording, and we thought that it really fit beautifully some of the pieces to tell the story about the significance of this event and this connection. She was thrilled when she heard about Space Torah, because again, growing up in the Soviet Union, you couldn't do anything religious. And for her to see that a Jewish person is so proud. The interesting for me talking about that Jeff, until he met me, most of the time, he shared his story privately, the Jewish aspect of it. And that's the reason that for 20 years, most people didn't even hear about him, because he, first of all, saw himself as an American astronaut. And the Jewish piece was privately, like when you see with the dreidel, that he said, it was on, okay, let me tell you, it was supposed to be private. Mm-hmm. So I even saw the journey on Jeff in the past 4.5 years to understanding the significance of his story to people. And through some of these questions, how he came out with understanding and reflection about his relationship with the father, the teachers, the rabbis. So I answered when you asked, but
That added so much. Thank you for sharing that. I have one more question that will give you more ways to share. So when he was reading Breshit in the Challenger, where was that being broadcast at that time? And who got to see that at that time?
So Bereshit was in Colombia. He read from Bereshit in Colombia. It was his last mission in 1996. It wasn't broadcast. He had a home camera, video camera that he took with him. And as another astronaut, it was from Austria, another astronaut, or Switzerland, he asked him to take this, to record him. And the guy actually said to him, I don't know what you're doing, but it sounds very interesting and impressive. And this recording was on his computer. It wasn't anywhere. Nobody saw it. He shared it in small events in his congregation, at Hebrew College when we met. So now I'm happy to have more people have the original footage and it's not going to disappear on his computer. And Barbara, you mentioned that there are a few more questions.
Yeah, there are a couple of questions about the music. One from Susan Rubenstein was a sort of open question about tell her about the music. And the other from Jacob Bloom was about did Billy Novick write all of the music? And
so Billy Novick wrote most of the music, and he also played some of the music. There's a piece that for me it's very moving, the Ledor Vador. When we talk about the Torah keeping to impact other people, it's very moving with the clarinet. So Billy is playing it, but the melody is from Meir Finkelstein. He's a cantor in Texas that gave us the permission to use it. And he was very honored that we wanted to use it. And there's a little tune for Hanukkah, which is a folk music, like only 2 tunes that kind of like lead us into the feeling that this is a Hanukkah melody, but the rest of it is Billy Novick. Other question, or you want to see a few more things? Yes.
I don't have a question. I just have to say goodbye because I have to go to Minyan. Feel free to join us, folks. But that was wonderful, Rachel. I'm going to watch it again when I can.
Thank you. Thank you. So the link is going to be available today until about 11 o'clock. So you can watch it as much as you want. You can also, send it to a few people. But again, tell them not to broadcast it.
Very good.
But really keep it under control. There are going to be more viewing. If anyone wants to bring it to their community, we can have other events like this in different synagogue, Hadassah, Hillel, and other organizations.
Well, Yasher Koach, I'm going to leave so other people can ask
Thank you, Donnie.
And Janet had a question. Thank you, Donnie. Janet had a question. Janet, do you want to unmute and ask, or should I read it?
Yeah, it's fine. Who casted the crowns for the Torah, the space shuttle crowns? Were they real? And where was the Torah again? Where is it now?
So the Torah is located in Congregation Orami in Houston. I actually have a picture of me visiting. It's a tiny, tiny Torah. I open and as you mentioned in the movie, you can read it. The Rimonim were actually dedicated on the 20th anniversary. So originally there was no Rimonim. In 1996, there was a celebration in Houston. Then they put the Columbia Rimonim on it. And I can share with you a picture. Just a second.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So this is the Torah here. It's a very small one, and the Rimonim were dedicated in 1996. And they're silver Rimonim. He also, something that we found out, that he actually sent a fax to his congregation. I didn't even know that you can send a fax at that time from space, and he wrote about his experience, and which was also fascinating. On his first flight, his rabbi gave him the Shehecheyanu to say. He wrote a special blessing, an astronaut prayer for Jeff. And these are some things that because of the research we find out and we start putting together. So the idea also for me is to later on have, let me get out of this. The idea in our website to have an educational aspect that will create all of these extra materials, extra videos. So if teachers want to use it in the classroom or is summer camps, Hillel, and other organization, they can have other materials that they can use with their students. So that's a little bit about that. Anyone have any questions? Also part of this journey, as I mentioned, I met and I'm still meeting some phenomenal people over time. This is some of our recording. This is in Jeff's office, and you can see Ken Hausman there is helping us. And this is at the Museum of Science. They actually closed the museum one night from 5 until midnight. It was just us at this section in the Museum of Science. And this is the Rabbi Shaul Osachi that we brought him here. And this was the time when I was sitting and I listened to their conversation. It's the first time they met after 15 years. And it was just like fascinating conversation and stories that came out. And we have so many more footage from that recording. This is in his house, some more recording there. And this is our website, spacetorahproject.com. We do call it a project because the idea that it's not just a film, but we're going to write curriculum. I'm working now with this rabbi to write a curriculum for rabbis. We are working to write curriculum for educators. We're working to write curriculum for middle school and high school with guided questions. So the idea is to make it something more to inspire. Again, to inspire, make people think, use it as a tool for the community to bring good. You know, we can use good. So that was the idea. And the one last thing, as part of actually this project, I'm also a stamp collector. So I did a project with the Israeli Postal Service, and we designed a commemorative stamp, the Space Torah commemorative stamp. And we, as you can see here, it's only 200 of them. And it was part of our fundraising. So I have some signed copies by Jeff, some with Jeff and the rabbi. And I framed mine. So again, like all of this journey took me to meet wonderful people, lots of new ideas, and still the sky is not the limit, as I learn. Yes, Charlotte, you want to talk? You can unmute yourself.
A question. I'd like to share this movie with my children, and they won't be able to watch it tonight, especially Ron, who lives in Zurich. It's the middle of the night for him. How can they see this at another?
I'll find another way to send you a different link another day.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah,
I was deeply moved by this wonderful film and all your efforts. It was quite a success. Thank you.
And thank you also for your support. You're also one of our supporters.
Let me know.
Any other comment or questions, or if people just want to enjoy their sukkah? Yes, Tony? Unmute yourself, Tony.
Have you thought about writing a book for the general public? Because I think you've got a lot of materials.
I will need partners for that. So one of the things that I learned that I need partnership. That was the same with the film. When I started working on it, we put together a production team, then a fundraising team. We had some help with writing. So now I'm working with the team to write curriculum. And I'm open to other, I'm also working with some people to write space curriculum for non-Jews also. But I'm open to everything. Like I definitely see it also as a children's book with some good, I have lots of photos. I have lots of photos.
And you've published 2 wonderful children's books.
Yes. So it's just a matter of time and resources and support. At the moment, again, like I'm not doing like a fundraising here, but it's like, you know, if we have more support, we have more people. some support is not money. If there's somebody here that is a great writer and want to work with me, I'm happy to work together. I'm not, the idea for me that this is a communal work. The same thing with Jeff. One of the big things that I liked about his story is the community effort, the teamwork. Like when you mentioned this little pouch that Nancy Pikus made for him. I'm in touch with Nancy, and now Nancy, we are talking a lot, and we met several times. So for me, this is the most important, is the communal work. So so for me to have a long list of people that support her, again, not just financially, but people like Lena that helped me to write some things for the website and articles, and some people that help with social media, and some people that make connection maybe with other organizations. It takes a village. It's a kehila. And so if, Tony, you think about a book and you want to work or you have some ideas, I'm happy to. And I'm happy to stay here as long as you want. Now it's 7:30. We can stay here even at 7:23. We can even stay here until 8, or you can leave. It's up to you if you just want to schmooze and enjoy your dessert and have more questions, or just talk to one another. Everything is fine.
I think it's wonderful that you saved all this for history, because it could have been lost. And I knew from the beginning when you said you wanted to make a documentary that you're so persistent and committed that you would do it. And you did. So I think it's wonderful. It's an inspiration that you did it and that you saved this material for, humankind, really. It could have been lost.
Thank you, Janice. And it's also thank you to people like you that help us to make it happen, because we need to pay for the composer, we need to pay for the video person. You're one of our biggest supporters, so thank you.
Thank you, but it's easy. That's easy. What you did is difficult. Yeah. What Jeff Hoffman did in his career is difficult. What I did to support this was easy. It was a pleasure.
Thank you. Gary, you wanted to talk?
Oh, I wanted to know if there's new young Jewish astronauts still coming up. Are there any others?
Robert still here?
So there is a Meir. What's her name? She was recently at the there's another astronaut, a young one. She was recently at the station. Her last name is Meir. Her father, I think, is Israeli. And she recently was at the station for a couple of months. And there was a picture of her with socks with dreidels. I think it was also Hanukkah. Oh. So there were actually many Jewish astronauts over the years. Like if you Google, we have a nice representation there. There's actually also now Israel is of course with Ilan Ramon, but they had the Bereshit lunar recently. I'm in touch now with some organization in Israel that are working with youth, with teenagers about space and Mars. And they have a program with American children, and they're also thinking about creating new program now with the new peace agreement with the United Emirates to do something with the children there. So there's definitely new excitement now with young people, especially with Mars. The other interesting thing, that many jobs are going to change and disappear, and definitely with all of this going on, but the race to Mars and all of that, it's not. So this is like one profession that many of them are looking into. So also when we made the movie, I think it's a very good timing to inspire them. And we want to use the movie for them to think about what are they going to bring from their culture and how are they going to adapt their culture and be proud of it. And when Jeff said, we astronauts, like all human beings, we take with us our history and culture, this is a universal message. In some way, this is a very Jewish story, but it's a very universal message. What are we taking with us? Who we are and what we're doing. And I also want to encourage young people to feel pride in their Judaism, because Jeff felt that the Torah has a lot to bring to humanity, to the world. So wherever we're taking it with us. And I think I mentioned earlier that I really see him as a pioneer Jew in space, because he spent 20 years working in NASA with 5 space missions. He experimented with many different Jewish objects and rituals. So we have a lot to learn from him. And so I hope that this movie will help these young children.
Sorry, I have some. There's a recording in the background going on. Rachel, we can still continue to talk, but I want to. I'd like for between Rabbi Lerner and Rabbi Kling Perkins and Meir in our religious school, I'd love to try to entice them to bring this program to those students, maybe even getting the preschool community involved in this. And Sisterhood would support this initiative with an additional donation to try to make it happen. So I will work towards that journey if it's within your scope of doing this again.
I'm happy to. For me, this is the beginning. As I said, this is the first official program. I seem like I already have several commitment lined up, but I want to bring it to many communities. So definitely with our communities, with our community, I'll be happy to be
Another time.
Engaged with that. Absolutely.
Excellent. Thank you so much. This was just a fabulous program, and it, like I said, it was beyond the realm of what I expected, and the participation, the food, the coordination just all fell into place so brilliantly. And I appreciate during this hard time with COVID that we were able to make it happen.
Thank you, Janet, for all of the organization and to bring everybody together. It's always great to see everybody and to have it be over this great accomplishment that Rachel, my friend who I can never keep up with, just really kol hakavod to Rachel, and thank you, Janet, for bringing this all together and always keeping the community in mind. Sisterhood is a tremendous supporter of the community, so thank you.
Thank you.
Rahel.
I am just so impressed at your ability to take something that grabs you and run with it this way and create something that is in and of itself an amazing project, and you want to do so much more with it. And thank you for sharing it with us. It's really remarkable.
I didn't expect that.
Barbara. Oh, she always is. Yeah.
I think Leon will like to speak.
Yeah.
I never expected to have such a wonderful time. I thought it was going to be like a little corny. I'm very open. I thought it was going to be corny. I mean, I'm a physicist, but I was very moved by the whole thing. Extremely moved, and I just wonder how did you get this whole thing together? Did you talk about that at all? What happened? How did this work out with you?
They certainly went through it.
I wasn't here before, but I still don't.
No, I didn't mention the actual making of the film. So I think one of the most important things is to find the right people to work with. And I shared that that was my first film. I don't know anything about film. I know about when I see a good story or when I see the potential or how I want to use it. But I worked closely with Rob Cooper. He is the director, and he and his wife, Pam, have this production team. It's called Verissima Production. They're in this field for 30 years, and they made many educational, historical movies. And he's very well connected in the community of the musician and the picture, the photography, and all of that. So he put together the actual team to put the movie together. Like, he hired the musicians, he hired the camera person, and he brought the team. We worked very closely because I knew what kind of movie I need to use later on with students and with the community. So I identified some of the themes, and I said to him, it must be about the community. It must be, when I heard from Jeff about his teacher, we worked very closely, but I gave him lots of freedom, creative freedom, which he really appreciated, because I let him do what he loved and what he know how to do. So, and sometimes we pushed one another. Sometimes I said, I don't feel like this, or I think that you should include that. So it's been really very interesting journey. When I met him and we said in the beginning, he said to me, it's going to take about 2 years. And I said to him, what do you mean 2 years? 6 months the most, just, we have this film, we have, the nice thing, by the way, that NASA footage is free, and we worked with NASA closely, and they were very helpful for us. And we had another researchers that we hired that was excellent. And he said to me 2 years, and I said, no way, Lina know me, I want to do things fast and quick. And and we are 4.5 years after. And because I didn't know how much it takes to put something like this together, the research and the work, the details that go into crafting such a story. I recently also, I took a class, like 6-week class about distributions of film, because again, like I'm learning, this is like with some people from LA, with 200 other creators from around the globe. And it was really fascinating to meet producers and directors of all documentary films, and the passion and the work that go into it. So I learned a lot, and I gained lots of respect to those people that craft the story. And the nice thing with this particular one, there are only like 4 lines that he had to write, because most of the talking is the people that we interviewed. So it's also the very skilled interviewer that she interviewed them so well that made them say the thing that created this wonderful story. But I was very moved also, like every time that they send me a piece, because I was very anxious at some point. I said, you know what, people trust me with their funds, they trust me to make a film, and I was worried what will be the outcome. And every few months I was seeing certain pieces to make sure that it's kind of forming the shape that it took, and I feel very thankful for their for the beautiful work.
2 things I want to say. First,
yeah.
Jeff, let's talk Jeff. I want to say something about Jeff. For me, he reflected something very special as a person, as a mensch, and I'm sure that all the astronauts have to have his character, the ability to be so have such a humility and ability to work together in a very beautiful way. That's the first thing. The second thing I think about is, have you been thinking about your next film?
So about Jeff, I agree with you. He is a very, very nice person, and that's why I devoted all of these years to work with him. He's not a pusher or anything. That's why we didn't know about him. He just did it, and it's like, okay, now I'm moving to the next step. And this is really a great gift for me, like this friendship that formed between us. We meet regularly, we talk regularly, we're constantly in touch. As we move forward with the project, we presented in several conferences and other places. So he's a very special man. So I was very happy to tell his story, because he is a very special man. About the next film, I do one thing at a time, and I don't do one thing at a time. That's not correct. That's not correct. But I don't know what I'm going to do next, and that's the beauty of it. And I think one of the big message is to just be open to opportunity and listen. And like when I met him, I didn't come to this lecture with the idea that I'm going to make a film, or I didn't know anything about it. When I saw it, I said, this is something that needs to be done. So I don't know who I'm going to meet tomorrow, and what something will, what new exciting things. And this is the beauty of talking to people, meeting people, and learning from them, and seeing what will be the next opportunity. It's the same when I made the children books, or when I'm making a conference or doing other things. It's whatever come and feel that like the right thing at the right moment. So stay tuned. Me too.
I think this was just amazing. If there's no other questions, I think we could,
I just want, Janet, I just wanted to say that his sincerity and his inspiration and lack of hubris came through. It came through. He was a natural, and you picked it up and ran with it. Beautifully done. Beautifully done.
Yes, you when you first heard him speak, you listened with your heart.
Yes.
What we've been talking about this week, and it's like, it's so important. And that comes through in the film.
It does.
Yeah. And I imagine that all the people working on the film found it fascinating too, because it's a wonderful story.
Yeah, and many of them, actually, the interesting things usually charge a lot, but they all felt like a mission. They all wanted, we got like deals with them, like it really, like the budget that we used, it's not what it should cost, because many of them felt proud to tell this story.
Right.
And we actually held in August, we wanted to celebrate, so we had a little premiere in my yard. We were like 12 of us from a distance. We put a screen with some of the production teams, of people like Billy Novak and Austin Debesh and some other people. And it was wonderful for all of us to celebrate and be together. And we thank them for putting their talent and passion and really giving, in some way they contributed financially to this film because of giving us their time in many cases. So no, it's really, I feel very blessed and very honored to be able to tell this story and to be able to inspire many people and to know that this story is now known and will be there forever, and
to honor him.
That I was like an instrument in between, to do that.
Very important one.
Yeah. So I feel very, very thankful for the opportunity. It's really a blessing.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
Wonderful program, Janet.
Thank you again, Rachel, and also Janet.
Thank you. So have a Laila Tov and enjoy the Hag. And I hope to see all of you soon in person, but it's nice to see you, your faces, your home, your Sukkot. And I hope that we will get together soon.
Thank you.
Take care. And available until
I'm
midnight.
sorry I didn't come to your sukkah. It's a beautiful sukkah. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Fred. Thank you. Laila Tov, thank you for your everything.
Laila Tov.
Laila Tov.
Laila Tov, everyone.